We're in hard times, and some of us are going to need a lawyer. And if you need a lawyer, don't just react to a TV commercial. Get a copy of the Lawyers Consumer Directory, which is available absolutely free of charge at any 7-Eleven store throughout Central Florida. The Lawyers Consumer Directory is going to give you real hardcore knowledge on how to hire a lawyer and a lot of information on issues like bankruptcy, foreclosure, and more. Get the Lawyers Consumer Directory. It's absolutely free of charge at any 7-Eleven throughout Central Florida.
Ahora puedes demostrar tu orgullo hispano mientras manejas en la carretera con la nueva tablilla o placa de auto hispana conmemorando los 500 años del descubrimiento de Florida por Juan Ponce de León.
Obtén tu tablilla hispana este año y harás la diferencia.
Solo 1,000 se necesitan para hacerla permanente.
Su donativo ayudará a estudiantes con becas.
Nuestra comunidad se beneficiará con más programas y servicios.
Resalta nuestra cultura, nuestras raíces.
Demostremos que en la unión está la fuerza.
Obtén tu tablilla hispana en el Departamento de Vehículos de Motor más cercano o llama hoy al 321-277-0850.
Hi, I'm Danny Ramos, and welcome to this week's edition of Hispanic Speak Out TV, brought to you on Bright House Cable. For the past 9 years, we've been on the air bringing you community news and personalities that affect our community. Today, I'm here with Jerry Demmings. He's Orange County Sheriff, and there are some things going on in the campaign which are kind of sensitive, and we wanted to bring Jerry on so that you can get to know him a little bit better as Hispanics and bilingual community people. And Jerry's going to explain to you his position on running for Orange County Sheriff. How you doing, Jerry? How are you?
I'm doing very well.
Hey, my pleasure to have you back. I remember the last time you ran, you were here, and here we go again, you know, and you're still here.
Well, you chose wisely. You knew that I would win, and so I'm going to win this time as well.
I got a feeling you're going to really win this time by big numbers. Your opponent has been attacking you for certain issues. Can you explain what's going on with that?
Well, this is the third time around that my opponent has run for sheriff. And so he has several desperate attempts to try to sully my good name in this community. But I've been working as a law enforcement officer for 31 years now, and I have a wonderful reputation. And I don't believe he's going to be able to overcome that. In fact, most of the stuff that he's talking about is just outright inaccurate. And so there are various issues that he's brought up that really are just untrue. From we're cooking the books in the sheriff's office. In other words, he's saying that we're manipulating the crime statistics. First off, I would never do that because that is unlawful to do. And I've been very, very transparent as an agency. We've had, in less than 4 years, we've had 5 crime summits where we've talked about our numbers. In fact, I even have in writing from the state saying that the way we keep our numbers is the way we're supposed to do it. So everything that he said, he has no verification, he hasn't validated it with anyone. It's just his words. And I don't expect my opponent to come and say good things about me. It's just not going to happen that way.
Yeah, but he doesn't have to say good things about you, but I think he's gone a little bit overboard with this because he's actually put up a website that states and makes a statement that the numbers being put out by the sheriff's office are wrong. We did look up the name of the organization, and we checked Tallahassee's file for the people behind that, and it turns out to be a law group, a law company, a group of lawyers who are behind that particular filing for that nonprofit political organization. Do you know anything about these guys, or?
Well, it falls in the realm of being a secret organization because they're able to skirt having the candidate actually directly involved in veiling or setting out false rumors about an opponent. And so what this particular organization has done is created a group called the Citizens for a Safer Central Florida. It's not a legitimate organization. There are two attorneys who have filed frivolous lawsuits against us at the sheriff's office, wasting taxpayer dollars. They're using the system for political gain. In fact, the organization is primarily created as a result of money put into it by a wealthy individual, a developer here in town, as well as another person who's associated with organized, who has been associated in the past with adult entertainment and accused of being involved in racketeering or organized crime. So I find it very interesting that a law enforcement officer will have anything to do with a group called Citizens for a Safer Central Florida that has that type of individuals behind it.
I also noticed that, I didn't know this before, but Orange County has a website where you can actually file crimes that you don't need to call 911 for. And the website, you can file for crimes there for lost property, identity theft, vandalism, harassing, burglary, vehicle burglary. And this is a basic printout so that you can actually file a complaint or against someone, or and that reinforces the fact that you have a system that actually clocks and documents crime statistics, because if a lot of people are filing this on the internet, this is a track that follows it automatically. The other thing too is that when you have an organization the size of yours, you can't hide anything. I mean, I have enough trouble hiding things in my office that I want to hide that are personal, and I only have 7 people in my office. Everybody knows what's going on all the time. So it's very difficult to shift and manipulate numbers. Somebody's got to do it. I mean, and somebody else has to see them do it. So it's highly, it's really far out there. It really is.
Well, I have a professional staff of statisticians, people who are degreed, who keep the numbers for the agency. They are required by law to follow the criteria that's been set out by both the state of Florida and the FBI. They work very diligently each day to make certain that those numbers are correct. I would never engage in manipulating the numbers, so it's just simply an attack on what I'm saying. This race is going to be really about choices. I have a record that I'm running on. I have a successful track record of being able to reduce crime. Each year so far that I've been the Orange County Sheriff, crime has gone down in Orange County by overwhelmingly 23%. Overall crime, violent crime is down by over 28% since I've been Sheriff. When we look at my history as an Orlando Police Chief, crime went down also each year that I was the Orlando Police Chief, and that was 4 years from 1998 through 2002. My opponent, on the other hand, has no track record of ever being able to reduce crime when he's been a police chief. In fact, most recently when he was a police chief in the city of Belle Isle, the first full year that he was there and they had their own police department, crime in Belle Isle went up by over 18%. The second year, crime went up in Belle Isle by over 8%. What he will tell you is that, well, we didn't have a full year. Well, I stepped down to be the interim city manager for the city of Belle Isle. So he had all of that responsibility still up under him, even as a city manager. So he has no track record of being able to reduce crime. Those are the facts. You can go and look on the FDLE, the Florida Department of Law Enforcement website, and you can pull up each city. I'm not making up these numbers. His own numbers are bad. So here you have me with a track record of being able to reduce crime and him with no track record. So that's the difference. The people in Orange County are going to have the opportunity to make a choice of whether or not they trust me to continue doing what I've been doing in this city, or a person who simply promises that he's going to do something that he's never been able to do.
I know that you have a lot of Hispanics in Orange County, you have a lot of blacks in Orange County, and then of course you have your white population. Has your ethnic background been instrumental to you in preventing crime? And I'm not saying that crime is just the same in all of them, in all the ethnic groups, but you have a better understanding of some issues that have to do with Hispanics, certainly.
I have a good breadth of experience, having managed now the 2 largest law enforcement agencies here in Orange County. Also, I've been the interim jail director. so I managed the jail as well. I know an awful lot about the demographics of the people arrested and booked into the Orange County Jail. The overwhelming majority of them, nearly 70% of them combined, are either African American or Latino.
What is that percentage?
Over 70%.
Over 70. That's tremendous.
And what I can tell you is that I'm sensitive to the needs of this community. I hire for diversity. The number 2 person in the sheriff's office is Hispanic. He was also the number 2 person when I was the Orlando police chief. Then I have promoted throughout the agency of all ranks people of color, including Hispanics. My media representative, Captain Angelo Nieves, is head of our media relations and community relations outreach from the agency. I'm going to continue to hire for Hispanics, and so I'm here to say that today we are hiring. If you want to be a deputy sheriff and you speak multiple languages, we'd love to have you.
Why do you think it is that Hispanics have such a high rate of incarceration?
Well,
is it, you know, where does it stem from, in your opinion?
Okay, about 54 to 55% of the people incarcerated on any given day in the Orange County Jail identify themselves as being African American or black. Another 15% identify themselves as being of Hispanic origin. When you add the two, 15, 54, 55 together, you get nearly 70%. That's where the numbers come from. One thing that most of them have in common, they're uneducated. Number 2, they're poor. Regardless of their ethnicity, almost always they come from poor backgrounds. And so I don't know, I think people of color sometimes have are disproportionately represented in the underclass in our country, but that's no excuse for crime, because we have individuals who do very well, who get an education, who just happen to be minorities, and they own businesses, they contribute to this community. But as a community, we all have to work together to try to reduce the numbers and change the trend that we see occurring in the Orange County community.
Yeah, we had Ron Blocker here a few weeks ago, and we had a show. Ron Blocker, he was superintendent of Orange County Schools. He said that the dropout rate begins in kindergarten. And I would think that that is one of the truest statements I've ever heard, that it starts as it's bred into you as you're going through. And if you don't get the proper guidance as you're going through elementary school and through your junior high school, you will become a dropout.
What he's talking about there, those first 5 years are very critical to building the foundation for learning for the rest of your life. If you start out those first 5 years and you don't get a good foundation built through early learning, chances are you're going to have that dilemma the rest of your life, where it will have an impact. And so that's what he's relating that to. There have been numerous studies across the country that say that there is a direct correlation to being uneducated and increasing the probability of the likelihood that you'll get involved in unlawful activity. And so education is key to hedging your bet that you won't be involved in some of these other things.
All right, we've gotten a signal we've run out of time. We've done it real quick. So I want to thank you so much for coming. It's been a pleasure having you, and I wish you all the luck in the world, and I'm sure that your election will be successful. I know your background. I know how long you've worked in the community, and I know the Hispanic community will support you. I don't have any question about that. We're going to take a quick break right now, and we'll be back in a moment. We're in hard times, and some of us are going to need a lawyer. And if you need a lawyer, don't just react to a TV commercial. Get a copy of the Lawyers Consumer Directory, which is available absolutely free of charge at any 7-Eleven store throughout Central Florida. The Lawyers Consumer Directory is going to give you real hardcore knowledge on how to hire a lawyer and a lot of information on issues like bankruptcy, foreclosure, and more. Get the Lawyers Consumer Directory. It's absolutely free of charge at any 7-Eleven throughout Central Florida.
Ahora puedes demostrar tu orgullo hispano mientras manejas en la carretera con la nueva tablilla o placa de auto hispana conmemorando los 500 años del descubrimiento de Florida por Juan Ponce de León.
Obtén tu tablilla hispana este año y harás la diferencia.
Solo 1,000 se necesitan para hacerla permanente.
Su donativo ayudará a estudiantes con becas.
Nuestra comunidad se beneficiará con más programas y servicios.
Resalta nuestra cultura, nuestras raíces.
Demostremos que en la unión está la fuerza.
Obtén tu tablilla hispana en el Departamento de Vehículos de Motor más cercano o llama hoy al 321-277-0850.
Welcome back to Hispanic Speak Out. I'm Jose Miranda along with Glenda Chauncey. We're here tonight to interview Pete Clark, who's running for commissioner in District
number 3.
District number 3.
Orange County Commissioner,
okay.
District.
Of course, this is being brought to you by Bright House TV and along with Danny Ramos. Mr. Clark, welcome to our little gathering of facts here.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here, and you know, just call me Pete, please.
Okay.
No, Mr. Clark.
No, my daddy's not behind me, so you can call me Pete. I appreciate it.
Okay. What does a commissioner do? Why should we be concerned about it?
But you know, as county residents, the commissioners are basically the ones that would set your tax rates and the kind of money that we would take from you as the property owner. But for that, what I would want to do is give you the value back for those dollars and make sure that we're spending them correctly. And just such things as public safety, you know, roads, the museum, the jail, mosquito control, animal control, all those kind of services that you may or may not need, but when you do need them, we want to be there. We want to be there in an economical fashion. And we run the convention center, we have public works, public utilities, just the whole infrastructure for the county is what the Board of County Commissioners are, basically the legislative body of the county.
So
the mayors.
You set taxes too?
Yes.
So is this something that you would take away from someone if they don't deserve it? Let's say with veterans, for example, will you take away taxes from veterans? Is that something in your...
No, I mean, what we're talking about are the property taxes, the county levies. And you know, my dad was a veteran. I served in the military. I would never do anything to take anything from a veteran. Okay. And I know nobody would. So, no, it's not that in actually veterans get preferential treatment. They get some breaks on the property taxes, which are well deserved.
And we appreciate it.
Oh, absolutely.
We very much
absolutely.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes.
Why get into this mess that we're here in Florida? Why get into it?
Well, you know, and I think the term mess is probably one of the reasons I wanted to. My mom moved us here when I was in 10th grade. I went to Boone High School, and my dad had just passed away. He was in the service. She moved us from her hometown to Orlando to give my sister and I a break, to give us a chance to do something better with our lives than sitting in a little bitty town up there in the panhandle of Florida. Sure. And that's exactly what happened. I mean, I had a great childhood here, a great time going to high school. You know, just if you weren't here in those days, this was just a wonderful place to grow up, and I think it still is a wonderful place to be. I mean, this is a very young community. There's so much opportunity, but what I want to do is I have a 21-year-old at UCF. I got a 16-year-old at TFA, First Academy, and I was thinking, you know, I need to leave something for them. You know, I always kid, you know, we need to get them off the payroll, but when they leave, I want them to leave for something that we've done to make this a better community, and for all the other families out there that have young folks growing up. It's my responsibility, you know, as someone who has gained so much from this community, to give something back, and I want to give something back in just making it better and making it a place where these young folks can work and raise their families if they choose. If they choose to leave, I don't want it to be for something we haven't done.
Right. And what are some of your top priorities? I mean, you know, all of us are out here running for these positions,
oh, sure.
and they promise the moon and the sky and everything that's out there. But what are some of your philosophies or some of your priorities that you feel right now is so important to our community?
Well, we've knocked on, I don't know, 10 or 11,000 doors. I don't know how many we've really touched, but we hear three things over and over and over again that resonate with us. And one is public safety. Everybody's very, very concerned about law enforcement. You know, we hear about the economy, and we hear about education. I'll start with public safety. You know, there's a sheriff's race going on. It's going to probably be pretty close, but I know both candidates, and hopefully when I get elected, I'm going to really focus first on public safety. I want to make sure that we have a sheriff's department that's run correctly, that's adequately funded, because we do the budget for it, although he's a constitutional officer. But it's our responsibility to make sure we give him the tools to protect the citizens we're responsible for, and make sure that we have agreements with the cities and municipalities to make sure we have task forces to look at things like drugs and prostitution and kind of the underbelly of some of the things that cause, you know, robberies and your homes to be broken into. It also includes fire rescue. You know, you want the EMS guys there and the fire guys there in 4 minutes. I mean, if they take longer than that, then you're probably not going to be happy with the outcome. Especially on the EMS side, it's very, very important they get there within that 4 minutes. And then disaster management, of course, is very important after the hurricanes. And I work for Orange County, and I was in the Emergency Operations Center through the hurricane, so I have a really good feel for what needs to be done and make sure that we fund that adequately. As far as the economy, you know, as a county commissioner, I can't create a job unless I take more of your tax dollars and put somebody on the county payroll, which I'm not going to do. What we can do, though, is make an environment that is conducive to people wanting to open a business, a doctor's office, whatever the case may be, and make sure the government doesn't get in the way. I mean, there are stories out there that just are mind-boggling as to what kind of rules and regulations people encounter when they're trying to expand and hire people, and it's really kind of craziness. And I want to make sure those crazy rules are just done away with, and that we have a plan in place to make these folks able to open a business without a whole lot of hassle. And I've had a long career in healthcare, and I have a real passion for healthcare. I've opened some clinics in the district on Hoffner and down on Lake Underhill. And it's really an economic issue for the families. These are clinics that they're not free clinics, but what it leads me to believe is with my background, my connections in medical, I want to really work to make that kind of the third leg of the stool here, to go with the tourism, to go with the simulation, and then really focus on healthcare. And for a number of reasons. One, it's just the right thing to do. And secondly, the opportunities is a career choice. I mean, you don't have to be a doctor, you don't have to be a nurse, you can be a technician. I work for community health centers. We use tablet computers now. We have electronic medical records, and basically you just follow the patient around, and you know, and you can really collect some good information and care for them. So I want to make sure that our young folks are able to get those kind of opportunities.
You mentioned crime and tourism, which are almost go hand in hand in terms of attracting people to come and spend their dollars here or to move here, which we also would wish to encourage. How do you get that to go if we've been having difficulties with that now?
As far as crime,
as far as crime, because crime, if we don't have a control on crime, our tourists are subject to being harassed or worse.
Well, like International Drive, where you have a lot of things that happen down there, and then it gets back to England that this happened, and kind of scares people.
You're right. One bad thing that happens down there is worldwide news, and you know, it's crazy. So you know, just like the St. Louis encephalitis, you know, you don't want that bad news to stop folks from coming here. So actually, there's a lot of attention paid to the tourist area, and there's a lot of prevention programs going on. I know the hotels do a lot to educate the visitors as to what to do and not to do. You know, you can't do 100%. You know, there are some bad actors out there. What we need to do is have a sheriff's department and police department that can get as many of those folks off the street as possible. And you can only do that when you have the personnel on the ground to do it, and you have the technology to do it. We need to make sure they're sharing information and that everything's kind of unified. Because the jurisdictions, you know, you bounce around, there's part city, part county, you know, and you really need to have some cooperation, and I would certainly want to ensure that's happening.
Why don't we, I mean, maybe we do, and I'm not aware of it, but why isn't there like an additional tourist tax? Like when they come here and they're spending their money, you know, not me, somebody who lives in my community, I don't want to be taxed extra, but why can't they be taxed a little bit more when they come and spend money with us?
Well, there is a 6% tourist tax already. And that goes, I think it's 6% right now.
Is that it? I would think it would be more.
That's a lot of money.
6%?
Yeah. I think it may be a little higher.
I don't agree with that, because they come here and they buy things, you know, in these different what do you call those? Help me out here, where they get discounts on a lot of items that they would not be able to get in their country. It's very, very expensive. They come here, they buy, you know, bags and bags and bags of things. So I don't think that's a bad tax rate.
Well, the tax is actually, it's called a bed tax, and mostly it's collected by the hoteliers. And there's specific uses for it. You know, it's for tourism, to make sure that we do the advertising around the world to get tourists to come here. It's also used for the venues. I mean, that's part of the tourist tax is going to fund the venues. It goes to fund the arts. And it's a state law that really tells us what we can do with it. But it collects a lot of money. I mean, they are paying part of it. Could they pay more? You know, I was always a proponent of the surcharge on rental cars to help pay for transportation. You know, Lynx doesn't have a dedicated funding source.
Exactly.
And when people need to get to work, you know, they need some way to get there if they can't afford a car. So there's some things we need to still take a look at.
Well, that'd be not. I mean, I'm just thinking. I mean, it's outlet stores, by the way. That's what I was looking for. Outlet stores. Well, I don't shop a lot in those, but I was trying to remember the name.
Well, we can't put an extra sales tax on because we would have to have referendums and all kinds of things happen.
That would. Now, you're working with a lot of people. How do you get it done?
Exactly.
What are your plans to work with all these I call them little tribes, and to get it to go? What's your plan?
Well, and what I'm counting on is throughout my career, and I say this with modesty, I've been able to get collaborative solutions going, and I did that with a healthcare initiative that Mayor Martinez actually let us do. It's called Primary Care Access Network, where we got 20 community partners for the last 11 years are still meeting for these clinics I was talking about.
Right.
And they do it not because they have to, they do it because they want to. And these are competitors. They're competing hospitals and other groups that will sit there and look for a community solution. And I think that in this district, there's still a little restlessness about the redistricting, and there was 5 of us in the primary. There's 2 Hispanics, and this is a 38% Hispanic district, and no Hispanics came out of the primary. So I've been spending a lot of time on the east side of the district. And I actually lived in Azalea Park as my first home, so I do have some roots there, and I lived in Quail Trail.
I got to get this question out, because it's out there like crazy. The sunrail. Come on, let's hear about the sunrail.
Okay. Anyway, I'm doing the best I can to make sure I connect with. I'll get to your question with the population over there. I think I'm doing very well, because I have some capital over there with the clinics, and I lived in 2 areas over there. Sunrail, the train is coming. It's down the track. Regardless of how you feel about it, it's coming, and it is going to create a lot of jobs.
So you're definitely in for the.
Well, we have no option. I mean, it's there. What I'm concerned about is 7 years when the county has to pick up the O&M for it, the operations and maintenance. And I'm a Dave Ramsey fan. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Dave Ramsey with his envelope system. One of the first things I want to do as a commissioner is have us create an envelope for Sunrail, or a restricted account. And there are certain savings that I think I can bring to the table in DJJ costs and some healthcare costs. That we need to start putting that in that Dave Ramsey envelope right now. And 7 years from now, when the bill comes due to Orange County, we won't have to throw our hands up in the air and say, "Oh, what do we do?" We'll have that money in that account. In the interim, we need to make sure that the ridership increases. But the beauty of this is both hospitals are going to build, significant construction behind their stations. I had a chance to talk with Orlando Health folks, and what they're planning back there is really is phenomenal. There's going to be some medical, mixed use, residential, and that whole industrial area is going to be transformed. And hopefully what I'll do is spill over to Orange Avenue and start transforming Orange Avenue. And if you let developers develop in a sane way, and they will do it, you can look at Soto and some of the other areas that have been taken from some very ugly buildings and ugly parking lots into really very nice areas. And if you partner with them and we work with them, we can start beautifying the corridors. Both that one and Cimarron needs some work too. I mean, there are 2 of the Main Street projects, Cimarron and Orange Avenue.
Correct.
Pete, how do we keep up with you? How does the public?
But we're all over the place, but you can go to my website, PeteClarkForCommissioner.com.
Right.
My email, PeteClarkD3@gmail.com.
Okay.
Or anybody wants to call me, call 407-855-4028. And much like some other candidates you may have talked to, I hope, I will answer the phone. If I can, I will guarantee a return phone call.
Absolutely.
Because I do want to talk to people. I really want to talk to them.
Well, we thank you for taking the time out tonight and hanging out with us. We really appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate it too.
We're coming up to another end of a segment here for Hispanic Speak Out. On behalf of everyone here, Glenda, myself, Pete, we also want to make sure that you remember this is voting time. Get out there and vote. Don't sit down. Don't waste your vote. Get out there and make a difference. I don't care how long it takes you, make sure that you do it. I'm Jose Miranda, and again, thanks for taking the time out to hang out with us. We'll see you again soon.
We're in hard times, and some of us are going to need a lawyer. And if you need a lawyer, don't just react to a TV commercial. Get a copy of the Lawyers Consumer Directory, which is available absolutely free of charge at any 7-Eleven store throughout Central Florida. The Lawyers Consumer Directory is going to give you real hardcore knowledge on how to hire a lawyer and a lot of information on issues like bankruptcy, foreclosure, and more. Get the Lawyers Consumer Directory. It's absolutely free of charge at any 7-Eleven throughout Central Florida.